Okay, let's just dive right into this, shall we? Welcome to today's explainer. Today we are going to unpack a truly fascinating and intricate spiritual roadmap. We're looking at a text from 2010 written by Feng, titled The Eight Great Awakenings from Human to Celestial Being. And what we have here is essentially a highly structured, step-by-step guidebook. It outlines a very distinct cosmology and a specific path designed to take a being from your standard human experience all the way up to a celestial awakened state. We're going to impartially explore this text today, mapping out exactly how the author constructs this universe and the rules that govern it. It's a dense, thought-provoking journey, so let's get our bearings.
So, here is our navigational path for today. First, we'll look at the meaning of awakening. Second, the ultimate destination. Third, the first four awakenings. Fourth, the final four awakenings. And finally, achieving harmony and awakening. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the meaning of awakening, light and order. Now, look at the stark, natural contrasts the author uses here to establish the core problem of human suffering and confusion. It's kind of brilliant. Feng doesn't just give us dry, abstract definitions. He paints a vivid picture with metaphors. He compares awakened folks to nourishing things, rice, wheat, light, fragrance, and beacons of clarity ascending step by step. In sharp contrast, the unawakened, or the ignorant, are compared to weeds and grass, things that literally choke out growth. They're associated with darkness, stench, and stumbling into dishes like tangled messes. It's a very binary view, but it's designed to emphasize the absolute necessity of moving from a state of chaotic ignorance over to one of ordered purpose. So, how do we actually make that move? Well, the text breaks the process down into a foundational vocabulary with three really distinct stages. First up is awareness, which is simply the act of sensation and perception, literally just taking the world in. Second is enlightenment, which is defined here as reflecting on those perceptions, actually thinking about what you're sensing. But the ultimate goal is that third step, awakening. This is the real transformation. It's moving from confusion to clarity, from chaos to order, and from darkness to light. According to the text, an awakened being is fundamentally transformed. They become a Buddha, a celestial being. Moving right along to Section 2, the ultimate destination, the Elysium world. Okay, so the million-dollar question, how do you actually get there? The text outlines what it calls the best shortcut to awakening, and it involves a really unique blending of diverse religious figures into a single structured voyage. Step 1 is boarding the Dharma ship, created by Buddha Shakyamuni. Step 2 is following the course guided by Christ Jesus. And Step 3 is adhering to the route of the deiform Buddha, all heading towards the ultimate kingdom of the greatest creator. It's a fascinating synthesis, taking these distinct theological icons and aligning them as sequential waypoints on one unified map toward the Elysium world. Which brings us to Section 3, the first four awakenings, the mechanics of existence. Now, Awakenings 1 and 3 lay down the absolute laws of cause and effect. And notice the word life is capitalized here. The text defines it not as your physical body, but as this eternal, non-material structure with spirituality. This life undergoes endless transmigrations. And as it moves, it is governed by strict, inescapable karma. The text uses the phrase, heaven's net is vast, yet nothing escapes it. It's a universe of perfect accounting. You reap exactly what you sow. Cucumbers for cucumbers, beans for beans, no exceptions. This leads us perfectly into Awakening 2, which totally flips how we think about mortality. The author frames death merely as an appearance, not your actual essence. The text uses this beautiful poetic quote, "Boundless grasses across the plains come and go with every season. Wildfires never quite consume them. They are tall once more in the spring wind." Death in this framework is just a change in form. The text equates it to reaching the other shore in a boat. When you get there, you simply disembark. You leave the vessel behind, but the life continues on. So where exactly does that life continue? Well, Awakening 4 begins to detail the sheer, mind-boggling scale of the universe described in this text. It starts with the number 20. According to Feng, there are 20 parallel worlds existing simultaneously out there in the universe. But wait, it doesn't stop there. Let's look at how this cosmological blueprint builds out. Alongside those 20 parallel worlds, get this, there are 36 dimensional spaces. The architecture of this universe is vast, layered, and highly compartmentalized. And this brilliantly illustrates why all those dimensions exist in the first place. Within these spaces are both paradises and hells. But they aren't just arbitrary sorting bins. The text asserts that the specific dimensional space a life inhabits is a direct reflection of its own state. Paradises are environments designed exclusively for perfect lives, while hells are designed exclusively for defective lives. Essentially, your internal spiritual state perfectly dictates your external environmental reality. You live in the exact space your karma has built for you.
All right, let's pivot to Section 4, the final 4 awakenings, mind and universe.
Awakening 5 focuses squarely on the power of our relationships, and it doesn't pull any punches. It argues that all relationships are predestined, and they carry severe spiritual consequences. Forming ties with ghosts literally pulls you down to the netherworld, while forming ties with celestial beings elevates you to fairyland. Furthermore, this is a universe of strict spiritual economics. Unpaid karmic debts will completely trap you in your current plight, and without generating sufficient merits, you simply cannot gain entry to higher states of existence. Your network literally determines your net worth in a very spiritual sense. Then, Awakening 6 hits us with this profound philosophical hook. Reality is a projection of consciousness. Consciousness creates reality. The text states that while physical forms can influence the mind ultimately transcends form. It argues that a pure heart naturally attracts celestial harmony, just as a fragrant flower naturally attracts butterflies. Actually, think of it this way. Your mind is the projector, and the world you experience, that's just the movie playing on the screen. Which brings us to Awakening 7, and hey, there's that number 36 again. But this time, it refers to the 36 8-diagram arrays. The text describes these as cosmic games or traps designed to ensnare the unawakened mind. We're talking things like power, money, fame, and carnal pleasure. These aren't just bad habits, they are structural arrays built into the universe. The text claims that once you're entrapped in these games, you cannot detach yourself without acquiring supreme, authentic wisdom. Only then can you escape this cosmic matrix. So if all of that is a trap, what is actually real? Well, Awakening 8 strips the entire universe down to just 3 true constituent elements. First is consciousness, the projector of reality. Second is structure, which the text defines as the characteristic of nature and Buddha. And third is energy, the animating force. The text insists that everything else outside of these 3 elements is just an illusion, literally like a dream, a bubble, or a shadow. Wrapping up the 8 awakenings, the text points us to the ultimate origin of those 3 elements, the greatest creator. The author asserts that acknowledging the greatest creator is the master key to spiritual success. If you understand this source, then any of the 84,000 spiritual methods available will become a smooth, easy path. But if you ignore this source, the text warns that every single one of those methods will simply lead you right off the edge of a cliff. It is absolutely the defining factor of the journey. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Achieving Harmony and Awakening. So, what do we do with all this? The text actually provides some highly actionable steps for self-refinement to cultivate that light within your soul. It starts internally, holding and maintaining the one, which means achieving extreme focus and unity of mind. It requires freeing yourself completely from ego and selfishness, and holding deep reverence for the greatest creator, life, and nature. But crucially, this internal spiritual discipline is meant to manifest as an external, physical utopia. The goal isn't just to go meditate in a cave somewhere. It's to actively build a world where talents are valued, where humanity functions as one family, and where society is so harmonious and safe that doors are literally left unbolted at night. Inner awakening dictates outer reality.
Which leaves us with a whole lot to chew on regarding the maps we use to navigate our own lives. If reality truly is just a projection of consciousness, and every relationship and action sets the coordinates for your next destination, you really have to ask yourself, are you ready to board the ship? And looking at the world around you, where does your consciousness reside right now? Keep learning, keep focusing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.